Hey everyone, we are Auntie Shatali and Jack Kolka, and we are both medical students at Wayne State University here in Detroit. We're going to be talking to you today a little bit about some basic clinic tests and things you might encounter at the doctor's office. We will also show you some examples of how to do these tests. The session is meant to be interactive, so when we ask a question, we're going to pause for a few seconds and we want you to shout out any answers you can think of, as long as your teacher is okay with it. So let's start off with a little scenario.
You wake up one morning feeling a little sick. You and your family decide you should go see a doctor. What kinds of things do you think the doctor is going to check for? Go ahead and take a minute to discuss or jot down a few things. Here are some basic things a doctor might check to figure out what's making you sick: your temperature, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your vaccines and immunization history, your breathing rate, your height and weight, and they might take a peek inside your throat to see if there's any redness or inflammation.
All right, so as far as the tests that we'll go through today, we're going to talk about body temperature, blood sugar, vaccines, heart rate, breathing rate, and blood pressure. We will then show you how these tests look and even how to do some of these tests yourself. So temperature. Do you know what the normal body temperature is? Yeah, so it's about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So some general rules to follow are, if your body temperature is between 99 and 101 degrees, then show a family member or guardian and possibly take a Tylenol. If your temperature is 102 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, or if your temperature is 96 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, then show your family member because you might want to go see a doctor. All right, so this is how to take your temperature. Most thermometers will have some sort of plastic covering you can put on before you take your temperature, so make sure to use this. Take your thermometer and place it under your tongue. Depending on the thermometer, you will likely have to press a button to start the measurement and wait to hear a few beeps when it is done. Then go ahead and check your temperature to see if you're in the normal range, which, just as a reminder, is around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. As you just saw, I got 97.8, which is close enough.
The next test we're going to talk about has to do with blood sugar. Now, what do we mean by blood sugar? This is not a trick question. Talk to your neighbor for about half a minute and see if you can figure it out and why it could be important. All right, so blood sugar is the amount of glucose or sugar in your blood. Now, why does it matter? Well, sugar is one of the most important fuels. It's your body's, especially your brain's, favorite source of energy. But just having enough sugar isn't the only thing that matters. The way that your body manages its sugar is important too. By this, we mean whether the sugar is in your blood or in your organs and muscles being used. High blood sugar could be a sign of diabetes and cause many other problems for your body. Low blood sugar could also cause other problems. Some signs of high blood sugar are muscle weakness, fatigue, frequently going to the bathroom, and your breath smelling fruity. Some signs of low blood sugar are sweating and chills, and dizziness or feeling like you're about to faint. You won't do this to yourself. Only let your doctor do this. This is our friend Ben. Ben has diabetes and is going to show you how he checks his blood sugar and injects insulin before a meal.
All right, so here I have my glucose meter. This is what is going to tell me my blood sugar level. I have my test strips that I insert them into the meter. Really easy. You see here, it's gives us a little prompt that it's ready for the blood. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this thing. This is my, it's called a lancet, and we're just gonna take it to the finger. I press down here, and now I press down, and it hurts a little bit, but not too bad. Takes a little bit of blood, and I put it in the meter. We wait, and as you can see, we get a number back. It is 120, which is actually right in range, so that's good. All right, so now that we've tested my blood sugar, we have a pretty good idea of how much insulin we're gonna need. The insulin is in this pen, and the way that I calculate it, I've had diabetes for almost 7 years now, so I'm pretty good at just calculating it on the spot. But had I not, what you would do is there's a certain amount of carbohydrates in the food you eat, and you can use math to figure out exactly how many units of insulin you're gonna take in order to combat those carbohydrates. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use 8 units. I turn it on here. And then this is just a quick little injection down into the stomach. Press down and hold. Doesn't hurt that bad. And pull it right out. Now I'm ready for my sandwich.
Ben has type 1 diabetes, which means it developed naturally in his body. You can also develop type 2 diabetes by eating too much sugar all the time for years and years. This is why you need to avoid eating too much sugar on a daily basis, so you don't have to do this multiple times a day.
So now we're going to talk about vaccines. So what are vaccines and how do they work? Again, take a little time to share with your partner what you already know about shots and vaccines. So vaccines are injections that prepare our body to fight against dangerous diseases. And the way that they work is they inject a dead or weakened form of the virus into your body. This allows your body to create something called antibodies for the disease. Now, antibodies are part of your immune system, and they're tiny markers for the disease that stay in your body after you've been exposed to the disease. These antibodies remember how to fight the disease. So that way, when your body sees the disease again, it can fight it off before you get sick. So what are some important vaccines? So once again, take some time and see how many vaccines and immunizations you and the person next to you can think of. Yeah, so one of the most important ones is the flu shot. The flu shot is super important to get every year, and this help protects you from the seasonal flu. Some other vaccines that are important to make sure you're up to date on are the pneumococcal vaccine, and this can help protect you from pneumonia, the hepatitis B vaccine, which protects you from hepatitis B, and the HPV vaccine, and this can help protect you against warts and cervical cancer, as well as some other types of cancer. Now, of course, there are many other vaccines, so make sure you bring it up with your family member and doctor to make sure that you are up to date on important immunizations. So where could you actually get these vaccines? Well, some places include your doctor's office, urgent care centers, or free clinics. And then how about when should you get these vaccines? Well, for most of them, as soon as possible if you haven't already gotten them. Now, remember, this is a question that you should ask your doctor or a medical professional to make sure that you are up to date. As far as the flu shot goes, that's one you should get every year. Flu season is during the fall and winter, and you want to make sure that you get your flu shot by the end of October. And finally, when an approved and safe version comes out, you should ask your doctor and your family about getting the COVID-19 vaccine. All right, so now we're going to talk about heart rate. So what is heart rate? Once again, take a few seconds to talk with your partner. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. It's just how many times your heart beats in a minute. So there's a lot of variability in what a normal heart rate is. Some people have higher heart rates and some people have lower heart rates. Also, if you have been exercising or you're really stressed, your heart rate will be higher than if you're just sitting down and relaxing, and that's normal. Now, the normal range for a resting heart rate for when you're just sitting and relaxing is about 60 to 100 beats per minute. So if you are in between this range, you should be all good. Now, how do you measure your heart rate? And this is not a trick question, but once again, take a few seconds to talk with your partner about what you think. Yeah, so you just feel your pulse and you count how many beats you feel in a minute. So let's try it. So we're going to follow what Auntie does here in the video. So you can either place two fingers on the front outside of your wrist on your thumb side, and this is your radial pulse, or you can place two fingers to the right or left of your throat toward the top of your neck, and this is your carotid pulse. Now we're going to play the video one more time just to make sure you get a good idea of where these pulses are.
All right, next we're going to be talking about your breathing rate. So, again, what is your breathing rate? Take a few seconds to discuss with your partner. Yep, so similarly to your heart rate, your breathing rate is just how many times you breathe in a minute when at rest. A normal breathing rate is about 12 to 16 breaths per minute, but this can change a lot based on how much energy you're using. So don't worry if you're not perfectly in this range. For example, if you have just been exercising or are stressed, your breathing rate could be higher than if you are super relaxed. So, how do you think you check your breathing rate? Quick hint, it's pretty similar to your heart rate. That's right. You just count how many times you breathe in a minute. So let's try it. Sometimes it can be hard to count your own breaths while continuing to breathe normally. So grab a partner, turn to them, and count how many times you see them breathe while we time you for 30 seconds. I'm going to give you a few seconds to get ready. All right. On your marks, get set, go. And stop. All right. So now take that number of breaths that you counted and double it to get the overall breathing rate, or breaths per minute. For example, if you counted 7 breaths, then your partner's breathing rate is 14 breaths per minute, which is about normal.
All right, finally, as our last topic, we're going to talk about blood pressure. So, what is blood pressure? Once again, I'll give you a few seconds to talk with your partner about what you think blood pressure is. Yeah, so it is just the pressure of your blood in your blood vessels. And what that means is basically how hard your blood is pumping or flowing through your body. So, high blood pressure is one of the most common diseases in America. So, to kind of figure this out, we're going to use a hose as an example. So, imagine a water hose with water pouring out of it. If you block part of the mouth of the hose, like with your finger, the water flows out harder and faster than before. This is like constricting blood vessels. This can happen from eating too much fat or sugar from unhealthy foods. This can also happen with tobacco. Now, imagine we turn the nozzle on the house a little bit higher so water starts pumping out of the hose faster. This could increase the pressure on the hose. This is like having a fast heart rate. The heart is working harder to push more blood out. This could develop over time from a lack of exercise. So years of wear and tear like this can cause the hose damage. This is similar to how high blood pressure can cause damage to your heart and blood vessels. So this is why it's so important to make sure that you are maintaining healthy blood pressure throughout your life so you don't cause this kind of damage. All right, now we're going to show you how to take a blood pressure. So you probably won't take or measure this blood pressure yourself, but your family member might and your doctor should every checkup.
Ready?
All right, so here, Auntie lines up the arrow on the blood pressure cuff with the artery in Jack's arm. So here, Auntie's inflating the cuff. He's going to go until he stops hearing a pulse. And then he's going to start to deflate the cuff. So he records when he hears the first heartbeat again through his stethoscope, which is what he's using to listen. This is your systolic blood pressure. Then he records where the needle stops jumping, which is your diastolic blood pressure. So to clear up what those mean, your systolic blood pressure is your blood pressure when your heart beats. And the diastolic blood pressure is your blood pressure when the heart is in between beats. So the systolic blood pressure is your higher number when you see a blood pressure, and the diastolic blood pressure is your lower number.
So that's the last major test that we're going to be talking about. Knowing how to do these tests can help you find out about problems before they get really bad. But there are some things you can do every day to help prevent these problems in the first place. First of all, you should make sure to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, ideally every meal. Second, make sure to get some exercise in every day. Around 30 minutes to an hour a day is a good number to shoot for. Some different ways to get exercise could include playing sports, jumping rope, walking your dog, walking anywhere, or riding a bike. Finally, if you can, try and see a doctor regularly, ideally once a year. Thank you so much, everyone, for your attention and your participation. And please feel free to contact us if you have any questions about the presentation or about medicine or school in general. Have a good day.